Hello everybody and welcome to Formula Sim Racing on this Saturday afternoon as we get ready for the qualifying session here for round one in the Formula Sim Racing ACE Championship. And yes, I haven't made a mistake, it is round one. However, it's being hosted at about round 6. I'm Dave Paling and I'll be doing the commentary today. However, I'm also on the cameras, so you may have to bear with me, folks, if I make a few mistakes. Now, I was having a quick look at Sander Callas in the pit lane there. He's leading the championship at the moment, but also having a look at Felix van Delft here, who's about to start a flying lap, who's been having a phenomenal start to the season. Now, in the commentary box, we may hear the occasional whispers from Cameron Roger. I don't know if you're there with us at the moment, Cameron, but Australia.
Hello.
Good, nice one. Australia, what are we expecting from the ACE guys out there today? Well, I don't think we heard anything from Cameron there, so he was here, but he's not anymore. We might see if we can get him back. But yeah, today's ACE broadcast could be a little bit different to usual, seeing as it's my first time broadcasting and Cameron has other duties to do. Now, Felix van Delft, he's set a nice Sector 1 time of a 28.8 in the flag-to-flag car. However, I think these opening laps in qualifying are more going to be about setting a benchmark lap time as Felix van Delft abandons his lap. Now, if there are any problems with audio at all, feel free to give us a shout on the YouTube chat and let us know if the cars are too loud or the microphones are too quiet, and we'll see if we can get that sorted out for you as we head throughout the show. So quickly ride on board with Sergei Heras at the moment as Shyam Najam puts in a 124.714. However, I think for qualifying for pole position here, I reckon we could be looking at around the 123s, the high 23s, the low 24s. Now, for anyone that's curious as to why Australia is still classed as round one, although it is being held when 4 races have already taken place, technical issues halted the opening round of the season, due to all of the connections and the knock-on effects. It's a lot easier to still call this round one and hold it at a later date. However, it was due to be Austria this weekend, but a problem with the track there has meant that Australia slots into its space. So Sergei Heras about to cross the line and pops himself into 3rd place as Luke Maguire, he's straight into the 123s.
I think one thing we could mention here as well is we have a new driver. Well, actually we have a couple of new drivers this weekend. We have Rudy van Buren, who has been quite successful in other sim racing categories, and he's making his well, I think he raced a few years ago actually, so he's making his return to FSR here. We need to see what sort of pace he has in this car. And also we have Luka Oslakovic, who raced I think 2 races last year, and then he raced back in sort of 2011, 2012 time, so he's also returning.
Well, we've seen a few drivers already this season return from prior seasons and do quite well. So it'll be interesting to see how Rudy van Buren gets on here. He's one that you mentioned. Let's see, 28.4 Sector 1 time. That was 4 tenths quicker than Felix van Delft did a little earlier on. And see how he's going to get on through Sector 2. And this is a track, Cameron, that setup's a tricky one around here because, I mean, a lot like last time out, do you go for high speed or do you go for the full-on grip? But it's a purple Sector 2 for Rudy. Let's see if he's going to be able to complete this lap as 28.1. It's saying that Ivan Rico has just done. I thought for a moment that was a 23.1 and I was about to have a heart attack, so don't need to worry too much about that. But Rudy, he's got traffic ahead of him. Is that going to cost him any time on his lap? Hopefully not, as that flag-to-flag car tries getting their first flying lap underway. So let's see where Rudy is going to place himself. Across the line he goes, and it's pole position or provisional pole with a 123.894.
Yeah, what are you saying about the setups? This track has very similar corners. It's basically chicanes and 90-degree corners. So if you get your car set up perfectly for those sort of corners, then you can be really good. But also because it's such a high speed track, it's very easy to slightly go offline and lose time because you lose momentum coming out of like the fast chicanes. So you do have to get a setup pretty spot on around this track. So we'll have to see what the top speeds are like to see if people are running a bit higher wings, because the straights aren't very long.
No, I mean this historically is a bit of a difficult track to overtake on, as I'm just having a look at Sander Callas. He's on a 28.6 sector one time, and Sander Callas leading the way in the championship standings at the moment. I will try and run through the standings. That'll probably be more through the practice or the warm-up session. But yeah, I mean the setups, it's a tricky one for getting the balance right on the cars. So Sander Callas, 51.8 sector one time. Let's see if he's going to be able to finish off with a decent lap here. It's only a 24.1. That surprises me from Sander. Now, I believe some of the viewers may be having difficulty hearing Cameron at the moment. I will try and sort that out in a few moments' time.
Yeah, you say that Callas was a little bit slow, but yeah, it's one of these tracks that you sort of have to build up your pace for. You really have to get in the flow, so maybe after a couple of laps he'll be slightly higher up the field.
Well, I've just got the cameras at the moment on De Wolde now, who's not got a lap time in yet. He's about to get through the car parts section. Tricky couple of corners there, turns 3 and turns 4, Cameron.
Yeah, especially in this car, it seems, because the sort of hairpin of turn 3, the traction out of that is, well, it can be quite difficult, and then going through turn 4, that you got that really big runoff on the outside, so it sort of tempts you to try and extend the corner, but then that then tightens up your turn again for turn 5. So you really have to nail that first apex to set up the whole sequence of corners.
Okay, I think I've managed to get Cameron's volume turned up a little bit, so we'll have a listen to him and see if he's now screaming at us when he says hello.
Hello. I hope that's alright.
Well, considerably louder in my ears, so we'll see how it is for the viewers. Let's see. Rudy Van Buren still holding pole position at the moment. He's back out on track again, heading through the car park section. I mean, I'm going to try and get some sneaky tips out of you now, Cameron. I mean, we talked a little bit about setups, and you mentioned about straight line speed, and I was talking about how, as Rudy, off he goes into the barriers. That's his session, or that particular lap over. Luke Maguire still sitting in the pits at the moment, and Felix van Delft, he's out there on an out lap. You may have to give us a shout if anyone's on laps at the moment. I'm a bit limited to timing screens at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I said that this is a track that's a little bit difficult to overtake on. So do you sacrifice the grip to have the straight line speed to be able to try and make those overtakes down into turn 1, down into turn 3?
You're just trying to get my setup for tomorrow, aren't you?
Not at all. Okay, yeah.
Well, to be honest, looking from the top speeds of everyone's in the low 300s, like 305, 306, something like that. In past tracks, we have gone up to 15 on your own. So I think most people are definitely going for a bit higher wing, but that's just the nature of this track, because the straights are also very short. So it's a high downforce track, and there isn't really a long straight.
No, you're very, very right there. Okay, Felix van Delft starting his flying lap nicely into turns 1 and 2. Rear end trying to step out on him though. And this is where you would usually open the DRS wing, but there's no DRS on these cars. Into the heavy braking zone of turn 3. Be patient and then really get that front end turned in. Power on as hard as you can through the car park. You're allowed to let the car run a little bit wide through there, and now flat out through turn 5. Heading up to the turns 7 and 8, I believe it is. Tricky braking zone, get all over the apex curve, hope the rear end doesn't step out for you, and also hope that that car ahead of you either gives you a bit of slipstream and gets out of the way, or just simply gets out of the way. Again, hard on the brakes, down into his first gear there, I think, for Felix. A bit sideways on at the power on the exit of the corner though, perhaps his focus on the car ahead of him. Now into the corners 11s and 12. I don't think it was quite flat out on the way in. I think my screen was glitching a little bit there, so if I've got a few visual problems, apologies for that. But now Felix now into the last few corners, and this corner, like Felix has shown there, is a tricky little beast as the car wants to understeer wide. And now again, a lot of steering angle going on that car for Felix. Hard on the brakes, or even gentle on the brakes, depending on how your brake pressure's set up. And now try and get that power down, control the rear end. It's not been a particularly good lap for Felix, and he knows it.
Bailed out. That's interesting that he bailed out of that, because he actually passed the pit entry line, so I don't think he saved a lap. Actually, no, he did save a lap. He's on 8. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not crossed the start-finish line, so he's okay on that one. He has saved himself a lap there. Sander Callas now, he's going to go for it again in the Netrex Grand Prix team. So, patient around the final corner, setting up his lap. I mean, at the moment, though, Cameron, we've got Rudy on pole, but I mean, are we in for a surprise here and not having Sander or Felix up there at the front?
The lap times are very close, and they've still got 1 or 2 laps left, so we'll have to see. But I mean, obviously, we don't know about Van Buren, so you know, he's showing us his speed here potentially.
That he is. Sander Callas, quite nice up to the car park there. Let's see how he's going to get on at the end of Sector 1. Is it a low 28? It's a mid to high 28. Down on previous best. I mean, I think this might be a track as well where you do kind of have to push the boundaries, but if you do push a little too far, it does not pay off. Let's see if he's a little more composed for Sector 2. He's definitely looking more planted than Felix was, let's put it that way. No twitchy rear end at the moment, and he has improved slightly in his Sector 2, running very wide though, and he's, yeah, I was about to say he was going to head it into the barrier there, but he managed to save it.
Rudy just ruined his lap as well, coming into the start Sector 3. Oh sorry, Sector 2 even. So there's not many drivers improving, which is quite strange. Usually, especially as I said earlier, in a track like this, you sort of build yourself up as the laps go. So on your 3rd or 4th lap, that's when you really go 110%. But it isn't really seeming that way for the top half of the field, at least.
Okay, I've got a bit of an interesting question for you here, because I've noticed that, I mean, I'm not picking on him, but I've noticed that Matthew Toussaint is racing in ACE today, and as far as I was aware, he was a pro driver. I believe he had a bit of a penalty for the pro event of a race ban. Would that not, if he was going to race here, would that not also say, well, you can't, you've got a race ban? Or does the race ban only count for the division you were in?
Yes, he has got a penalty.
I put you on the spot a bit there, I know, but
as per the rules, he is eligible to race in ACE, and he's actually replacing Andrzej Boratowski, who has
don't say a race ban.
So
oh right, okay.
He is just as a reserve right now. I'm sure they will find a new driver. But yeah, he is totally within the rules to race today.
Okay. See, Viktor Ivanov starting his next flying lap, this being the 10th of the 12 that are available. And just to let the viewers know, I mean, in the qualifying session you do get 12 laps, but it doesn't mean that you can do 12 flying laps. Effectively, it's one for an out lap, one for a time lap, one for an in lap. So you don't have to be very careful of how you go about using those laps. And on occasion you may see a driver, if they've made a mistake or abandoned a lap, may go for a double timed lap run. if they can't do 2 single time lap runs. Let's see, 28.6 for Viktor Ivanov. Not too shabby that at the moment. Let's see how he gets on through turns 11 and 12. See if he's flat out or nearly flat out. Using nicely there the gears to slow the car down for him. Still up on a previous best lap time, currently sitting in at 7th place, but he could do with finding about a 10th before he gains an actual position. So around the final corner, the car's going to try and understeer wide. The rear end's going to try and step out on him. But he manages to control it quite nicely, and across the line he goes, and he does improve that 1/10 to get himself the 1 place. It looks like Rudy Van Buren has just abandoned the lap as...
another lap he's abandoned. But
yeah.
He has 3 laps left, so he has enough time, or enough laps for 1 more flying lap. Because he's abandoned 2, so he's gained another lap.
Okay, well, Luke Maguire, he's out there on track at the moment. And saying that, Luke Maguire's on track at the moment. I'm not seeing an Adam Maguire out on track.
Yes, because this is a confusing penalty. He had a 3 race ban at the beginning of the season, and because this is round 1, this counts as one of his race bans. So it's quite a confusing penalty that. So he missed round 2 and round 3, and now round 1, even though he contested in round 4.
Yep, that's confusing. That's definitely confusing, no doubt about that. So, Luke Maguire then, the younger brother of Adam Maguire, he's got a very good opportunity of getting himself a pole position here. I mean, what, 0.023 between himself and Rudy Van Buren at the moment, and Rudy keeps abandoning laps, and Luke's got, what, possibly 2 more time laps in him, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on with this particular flying lap. So, as he winds himself up then around the final corner, let's see what kind of top speed he's going to be hitting down into turn 1. Let's see, just over 306 kilometres an hour, I believe there. A little wide, a little too wide, and he's abandoning his lap. These guys aren't making it easy for me broadcasting here today. Every time I go on board, they abandon their laps.
Yeah, it's difficult track to do a quali lap on, that's for sure.
Well, you say that, why? Why is it a difficult track to do a qualifying lap on?
Yeah, I was actually talking to my team about this yesterday. It's because every single corner links to another corner in some way. So if you mess up like the first corner of that, the sequence is mucked up a little bit. And also, so many of these corners are so fast, you have to be right on the limit to get all the time out of it. Because it is such a fast corner, that means if someone carries so much more speed, then they gain more time than normal on you if you go a bit too slow, because then they have the momentum out the corner too.
Yeah, very, very true. It's a little bit like you make a mistake in turn 3, it's going to cost you turn 4. If you make a mistake in turn 4, it's going to cost you turn 5. It is very much that way. Or even if Ivan Rico, he's approaching one of the chicanes now. You make a mistake in this chicane here, not only does it cost you in this corner, but it costs you, as he does make a little mistake, it costs you at the end of this little straightaway. It is a massive knock-on effect, but at the moment the whole field spread by 4 seconds, with the top 11 all within a second of each other. Now, Rudy Van Buren, we're finally on board with him while he's on another lap, although he's down a little bit on his previous best in Sector 1. Let's see how he gets on through, I think it's turns 7 and 8, could be 8 and 9 actually, my apologies. A little bit unprepared for the broadcast today, seeing as only got ready for it 20 minutes before qualifying. So let's see how he gets on through the fast chicane. Not taking a lot of apex there, to be honest, but car looking nice and stable through there anyway. And he was up in his Sector 2. It's going to be down to the likes of Luke Maguire, Sergi Hedda, Sander Callas, Felix van Delft to try and apply some pressure to this guy that they may or may not know to see if they can stop him from taking pole position, or a little bit sideways on the exit of the penultimate corner. Gets to compose himself though around the last corner, heading up to the finish line now as Felix van Delft has improved his time, but it's not enough because Rudy van Buren does a 23.7.
Yeah, good lap by Rudy there. Good lap. Definitely showing he's got a tenth of a bit on the rest of the field. So
that he has.
Very interesting to see a a returning driver come in and be so quick. So the regular guys definitely have a fight on their hands today.
That they definitely do. Now I'm just trying to have a quick look at whether all of the drivers have completed their laps or not, or unless Christoph Schur has only completed 4 laps. Unless it's giving me incorrect information there, but I believe that is qualifying over.
Yes, Satherley only did 3 laps. Did you say him?
Yeah,
that's only 1 flying lap.
Yeah, it looked like Satherley and Schauer only did 3 and 4 laps each. I don't know whether they had any problems there or not, but yeah, it does look like it didn't go particularly well for them. Okay, as the guys are about to start the practice session, I'm going to take a breather for a couple of moments, give myself and Cameron Roger a little bit of a rest for a second, so we can just make sure that we've got everything up and running and we can do our final comfort breaks before we get ready for this race. So 10 minutes time, we'll have the start of the ACE race. So don't go away, we'll be back in a few moments time. Hello everybody, welcome back. We're still in the warm-up session at the moment, 5 minutes through. I'm just going to have a quick run through the ACE standings as they are before this race. Sander Callas leading the way on 78 points and Felix van Delft close behind him on 62. Well, I say close, 16 points between them. Sergio Heras in third place on 51 points and Lucas Alves not too far away with 46. Christoph Schur has 38 points while De Wold Nel has 37. Felipe Giro 28 points and Florian Becker 27. Arif Rosland 22 points, George Winter 19 while Danny van der Neet he's on 17, closely followed by Cody Blanton on 15 points. Lucas Schmidt only a point behind him on 14 while Victor Ivanov and Adam Maguire are only 1 point behind him. Thomas Satherley is on 11 points, while Jean-Pierre Helpap has 10. Dmitry Zarahov, Shyam Najam, Todor Vasiliev, Oscar Ortiz and Christopher Raby all have 9 points each, while Andrei Boratovsky, although he's not going to be racing anymore, is on 7 points. Stoyan Borbukov on 6 points, Holly Hamnet has 5, Ivan Rico has 4. Karol Basco on 3 points, while Jared van der Wiede also on 3, and he's joined by David Ibanez, while Jos Araneda on 1 point rounds out all of those drivers that have scored. Those who haven't scored yet: George Chatsipantelis, Luke Maguire, Ferran Grau, Ernesto De Angelis and Guillermo Prieto, and anybody that's new in the race today. The constructors' standings are as follows. Netrex Grand Prix are leading the way on 95 points, while Flag to Flag are on 78. Flag to Flag Orange are on 71 points, while Ghost Speed Racing Team are on 66. Netrex are in 5th place on 55 points, while the Deltec Racing Team have got 40. Avid Chronic Racing are in 7th place on 29 points, and only 1 point behind them is their blue team in 8th place. In 9th we have Invictus White on 23 points. VB Madcape round out the top 10 on 21 points. Ghost Speed Engineering are joined in 11th place by Des It Brem GP on 13 points, while the F1 Champs Racing are on 12 points in 13th place. Ghost Speed Racing or GS Racing are in 11th, they're not in 11th, they're in 14th on 11 points, while in 15th is Team Horizon on 9, Invictus Motorsport have 7, Pushrod Racing Team have 4, and Avid Chronic Racing Grey Team are only on 3 points. Now, there's a few penalties for drivers out there today, so I'm going to have a quick run through those. If I'm allowed to have a look at the picture, I'll give you that information in a few moments' time. So, Felipe Giro has a 10-place grid penalty today, although I'm not sure I actually saw him out there in qualifying, so I don't know if Felipe's actually on track today. Lucas Alves has a race ban, so he won't be competing, while Lucas Schmidt has got a start from the pits penalty. Tom Satherley has a 5-place grid penalty, Victor Ivanov a 7-place grid penalty, while Adam Maguire, as Cameron touched on earlier on, has a race ban, and Jared van der Wiede is starting from the pit lane for a late allocation. So as the drivers have been taking part in this warm-up session, then it's an opportunity for them to get used to the car with full fuel on and try out perhaps a couple of different wing settings. There's not a lot the drivers can change. Someone knows which camera I'm on today as they park up right in front of it. I've got a feeling that may have been Luke Maguire as he's sitting top of the timing screen as another driver decides we'll see what the runoff's like at turn 1. But yeah, the warm-up session, just a good opportunity for the drivers to see how their car is handling on the higher fuel loads, and also for a few drivers to just have a look at what kind of race pace the guys are on out there. So not long now then until the formation lap gets underway here in Australia at a track that is notoriously difficult to overtake on. However, I'm sure we're going to see plenty of action. One thing I will quickly mention though is, folks, with me being very new to trying to do a broadcast here, if the quality's not great, apologies for that, but also I'm not going to be able to do any replays because every time I've tried doing that it's made a mess of the synchronization, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to have a look back at anything that has happened. And considering how the last race's start went in Ace, it'd be a bit of a shame that, because I'm sure if there's absolute carnage at turn 1, then yeah, we would all like to have a good look at a replay on that one. But that's where it's handy if the drivers create their own videos, and then we can all have a good look at the view from each one of them. So now it's the tense time for the drivers. They get to take their last drink, their last deep breath in preparation for what is going to be a very short run down into turn 1. And this is a race start that I would like to hope that many people have practiced. Started from the clean side of the track, from the dirty side of the track, picked out their brake marker point if they're starting on the right hand side of the circuit to make sure that they're not going to end up going flying into the gravel trap we can see there. Oh dear me. Well, I said it's tense for the drivers while they're waiting for the start of the grid. It's tense in the commentary box as well, as we wait to see what's going to happen in what I believe is a 70-lap race here in Australia. A track where strategy could play a massive factor. 2 tyres available today. We've got an option and a prime, and those option and primes are the same tyres we're going to take to every racetrack this season. So if they last 20 laps here, they may only last 10 in Silverstone. It'd be just the way the drivers will have to deal with them. But yeah, strategy here is going to be absolutely crucial. It's going to be key. And with refueling on the cars, the overcut is something that has proven to be very, very useful throughout this season. So drivers that are able to perhaps go that little bit longer could benefit that little bit more. So here we go then. As the drivers begin forming up on the grid, we'll have a formation lap. And then we will get underway here. And I will try and catch the action as best as I can. But yeah, please bear with us, folks, as the drivers get ready to start what is going to be the Formula Sim Racing Round 1, held at round about 5 here in Australia. I will try and quickly run through the grid for us as well. We've got Rudy Van Buren in the VB Mad Cape car. And in second place, we've got Luke Maguire for Invictus Motorsport. In third place, Felix van Delft in the flag-to-flag orange car and recently a race winner. Sergi Heras in fourth place from the main flag-to-flag team, who's going to have to be careful about his sister teammate ahead of him. In fifth place, we have Sander Callas, a guy many of us would have expected to have been on pole position here today. So we'll have to wait and see how he gets on throughout the race. Arif Roslan in sixth place for Invictus White, while in seventh we've got Danny van der Neet for Netrex Grand Prix. In 8th place, we've got De Waldenel in the Deltec HME team, and an interesting orange and blue livery there. And in 9th place, Christoph Schauer for Ghost Speed Racing. In 10th place, Shyam Najam for flag-to-flag orange, while in 11th place we've got Jos Araneda for Invictus White. In 12th place we've got Luka Oslakovic for Avid Chronic Racing Grey. And I actually like that livery in the all sort of grey colour there. Victor Ivanov for Des Brem GP in 13th place, George Chatsapantelis in 14th place. Matthew Toussaint in 15th for Invictus Motorsport, in as a reserve driver, I believe. And Jean-Pierre Helpap, VB Madcape, in 16th. Todor Vasiliev, 17th place for Netrex TPL, while Dmitry Zarahov is in 18th place for Team Horizon. Tom Satherley, 19th place for GS Racing. Ivan Rico, 20th for Pushrod Racing Team, and his teammate Ferran Grau right next to him on the grid. And we're going to have a few drivers starting in the pit lane, so it's going to be an interesting opening lap for those guys, because I mean in Canada there was that much carnage on the opening lap that quite a few of the drivers that started in the pit lane thought they might have a nice, comfortable, easy opening lap, and it turned out to be anything but. So here we go then for the Formula SimRacing ACE division for round 1, +5, +25 it could be, from Melbourne in Australia. And they're slowly forming up on the grid. And for Rudy Van Buren, he may have been on many pole positions and won many races for all I know. However, it's the first time I'm going to get to see him and Luke Maguire, who's sitting in second place, take a run down into turn 1. So as we wait for the lights, here we go then. 1 lights, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And away they go in sunny Melbourne. A short run down into turn 1. And I saw a car in the background getting a little bit twitchy there. But for Rudy Van Buren, it's a great start to the race. Sander Callas still sitting in 15th place, while right behind him they're getting side by side. And that's Arif Roslan and his teammate. They're going to have to be careful as they make their way into the car park section. Looks like a pretty good start though for most of the top 10. However, further down it looks like they're trying to go 3 wide, and 3 wide is not going to work around this particular track.
Yeah, the start was pretty clean, to be honest, all the way down the field. I was quite surprised by that, considering last race we saw a massive pile up into turn 1.
Yeah, also, I mean, this is a track where you do still have to be careful further around or later around the lap into the 3rd sector. I mean, it's half a second between Van Buren and Maguire at the moment. I'm just having a little look back at sort of 10th place, because it is ever so busy down here. Just ahead of them as well, 2 wide in the background as well. I don't think 2 wide through the fast chicane is really going to work, and one of the flag-to-flag cars is off. Jean-Pierre Helpap, he's looking up the inside. He's going to be able to make this move on the Ghost Speed Racing car. Yes, he's going to try. I think that's George Chassipantelis. He gets a little bit twitchy on the exit of the corner. Well, as you said though, Cameron, a fantastic start to the race. A very, very clean opening lap by the looks of things. But for Rudy Van Buren, it couldn't have gone any better up at the start.
Yeah, every single driver is still going after lap 1. This is good. I like how this is going.
It is good. Well, we're either going to curse it and they're all going to get mass disconnected, which could happen, or we're in for a fantastic race. Now, we've no idea what fuel levels the drivers are going to be using at the moment. We've no idea how long they're going to be able to go on their tyres. But I do think a potential 2-stop race, and I got my lap count wrong earlier. It's 58 laps, not 70. My apologies for that one. So 58 lap race should be potentially a comfortable 2-stop, with the drivers either going for option prime, or maybe even trying to squeeze out an option prime option stint strategy. What are you going to do tomorrow, Cameron?
Why would I say that?
I was hoping you'd just blurt it out. Well, I'll tell you what, Maguire has had a fantastic run through turns in 11 and 12. He's right on the back of Rudy Van Buren now, so he's not letting Rudy run away at all.
Yeah, overtaking is going to be very difficult around this, so the main point of the race is going to be this first pit stop. So Luke needs to stay right with Rudy. He cannot let him get away. Although, to be honest, all of them are still in a big train at the moment, so there isn't many gaps forming, which is good.
Yep, it definitely is good. Now I will try and skip around the grid on occasion, although sometimes it's not letting me actually jump to cars, so if I have to flick through from car by car by car, I will apologise for that. But obviously if there's a battle up at the front here, we're going to keep an eye on that as best as we can. But looking down the grid, I mean at the moment, okay, 24 seconds separates first to last at the moment, but that's actually a respectable gap, I would say.
For 24 cars, 1 second a car makes sense. Although Sander Callas, he was the fastest man last time round. He set a purple lap of a 1:25.9. So even though he's down in 5th, slightly out of position from his usual, he's definitely showing he's got some speed right now. He's following Sergi Harris in the flags fly car.
It looked like Sander was a little bit slower through the fast left-right chicane there, but maybe his benefit comes from straight line speed. We'll find out as the race goes on. Let's see, close battles. Top 10, no one's really in position to sort of attack each other at the moment, but I mean, for Sander Kallas, is this a really difficult situation that he's in now, because his, at the moment, championship rival is a couple of positions ahead of him up the road?
Yeah, Rudy just got the fastest lap on that lap as well, so he's trying to pull away. It's gonna be probably one of those races at the front here with Luke. That Luke's now gonna probably do another fastest lap and catch back up a bit. They're gonna be pushing very hard.
Well, something that I've not had chance to mention yet is about the weather. In ACE, obviously, it's live weather, although it's not dark, not night time. But yeah, live temperatures. So we're only looking at sort of 8 degrees out there at the moment. So shouldn't be any problems for engines or for tyres really. But what could be an issue is if we're going to have any rain approaching.
I have not checked the forecast.
Well, I haven't checked it either, but I am pretty sure that yesterday there was sort of half a chance of a possibility of rain. I'm just having a quick look at Danny van der... Well, I thought I was having a look at Danny van der Neat. Well, it is. He's being pressured by Arif Roslan. And right behind him is De Wold-Nel, who's being pressured by Christoph Schoer as they make their way down to turn 1. A little bit, there's a few gaps creeping in here and there, but as we said already, this opening stint of the race is kind of about working out what kind of pace you've got, where your pecking order is, and then seeing what you can do regarding strategy. De Wold-Nel looked like he very nearly got out of shape there, and maybe coming under a little bit more pressure.
Yeah, regarding the weather, just had a look. There's 0% chance of rain now, but on the hour, so in half an hour's time, we have a 40% chance of rain for an hour. So there definitely is a chance of rain in this race, with it being 40%. Okay,
there definitely is a chance of rain. Remember he said that, folks, because if it does rain, we'll blame Cameron for it. Just having a quick look at Matthew Toussaint, because I have spotted that a couple of these guys' names have been popping up on the screen as having made moves on each other. So we've got sort of Matthew Toussaint, Ivan Rico, Tom Savely, and Savely, someone who... I would have expected to have been a little bit higher up the grid in qualifying, and he's really trying to apply some pressure on the back of Ivan Rico at the moment.
Yeah, he did have a 5-place grid penalty, so that put him back a little bit further than what he would have hoped. So one bad thing for him as well is he has Ivanov, Zaharov and Toussaint in front of him on the prime tyres. So if he can't pass this little group of cars in front of him, then he's going to be basically stuck until the end of the race.
He is, but he's got a good run here. He's trying to make the most of the slipstream. He's getting ever so close. Having a look up the inside. Is he going to be able to make it work? Ivan needs to give him a little bit of room. Side by side they go. But no, he's not able to get the move done. He's going to have another go down into turn 3 now. And he does it. It worked.
Yeah, I think Rico just saw him coming at the last minute and gave him a bit of room. Yeah, that's very respectful through turn 1 and 2, because that is basically a one-line corner. So going side by side is a bit sketchy.
Yeah, it definitely is. And he had to get it done, because as you said, just behind him, it's really, really sort of hotting up, isn't it?
Yeah, the cars all...
De Wold-Nel making a move up the inside into the 4th from last corner. Nice move there by De Wold-Nel on Arif Razlan, and Razlan may actually come under attack from Christoph Schoer now as well, with Christoph being right there to capitalise. Roslan very sideways through the final corner. I think Christoph's going to have a look. Sorry, I cut you off there. Go on.
I was going to say, at the front, I've just noticed there's a little gap forming. Van Delft in third is 3 seconds off the lead, and Maguire is now about 1.5 seconds off the lead. So Rudy's starting to pull out a little gap here, so they need to be careful he doesn't get too far away.
That is true, but we've seen Felix, he's a sneaky little fellow, he is, so he could just be saving a little bit of tyre life at the moment to use it up later on. Jos Araneda trying to apply some pressure here on the back of, Christoph Schoer, with Christoph being held up a little bit. However, there's getting a little bit close between Heras and Callas, I believe. Oh, let's see. It is kind of close. I mean, Felix, he's got to be careful that he doesn't come under attack from Sergei Heras, who I'm sure will send me messages after this race and say, that's not how you pronounce my name. I was like, okay, fair enough. So well, I've got more to deal with. I'm trying to work out 50 million cameras at the moment, and I've no idea if it's working or not. But there we go. But yeah, Felix, he has got to be careful because I think he's struggling. He's struggling with understeer. He's under pressure. Heras is going to go for him here down into turn one. Felix making him go around the outside could give the opportunity of a bit of a switchback, which Heras is going to take full advantage of if he can, but this is where having DRS would be useful, but many people aren't a fan of DRS, so Sergei going all the way around the outside, he'll give him the inside into turn 4, Felix turns in a little bit of contact, and that could cost Sergei a position there. Cameron's panicking now because he knows there's going to be a flag-to-flag investigation on that one.
Oh my god, that was so tight, going side by side. Was that turn 4 is not where you want to be going side by side on this track. Although Sergi's definitely quicker. He's having a look down in. Oh no, he's pulled out of that. But yeah, Sergi's definitely quicker at this point in the race. So, oh yeah.
I can imagine your heart was in your mouth a little bit there. I know it would be for me. Is now also this is not a corner you want to try overtaking on, and he doesn't. But Sergei's got to be careful of Sander Callas, who I think Sander Callas is sort of sitting there quite comfortable at the moment. And looking at how his car was handling in qualifying, I wouldn't be surprised if Sander's able to go quite long. And as soon as I say that, he gets a little bit sideways.
Yeah, I wonder if Felix pushed a bit too hard in those opening sort of 5 or 6 laps to try and keep up with Luke, that he might have started the really bad snowball effect of when you overheat your tyres. So we'll have to see what is his lap. God, his lap time was a 1:28.5. Is that correct? 1:28. Oh yeah, they were battling, weren't they? Yeah, yep. He's struggling a little bit.
That he is. Okay, I'm seeing that Lucas Schmidt and Jared van der Wiede are quite close. Actually, saying that is Zadarhoff, Satherley, Tucson, Rico, Schmidt and van der Wiede are all quite close together. But I'm going to try and focus on this battle at the moment, and if we miss those overtakes, then apologies for that. But yeah, I mean, you could be right. If he pushed the tyres too much in those opening laps, it could cost him as we get towards the later stages of the stint. But I mean, the option compound tyre, I mean, what are we looking at? You get, what, 16, 17, 18 laps out of them quite comfortably, I reckon. But if you push them too hard, those later laps suddenly become a hell of a lot harder to get the lap times in.
Yeah, tyre, especially the options, they're very on the limit around this track because the tyre wear is a bit higher than, for instance, Montreal, where we were in the last race. So you still got to get the tyres just about as far because we only have 2 compounds for every single track, no matter whether it's a high wear track or a low wear track. So you still got to get the distance out of these tyres. So I think we're going to see some drivers struggle, sort of, especially after lap 15 when they start getting a bit old.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Sergei Heras, he was quick enough to catch up to Felix and apply some pressure on him, but since then, I don't know whether he's just sort of taking a back seat and thinking he's my teammate, I don't want to have any problems here, or whether now that he's got this close, he's struggling a little bit. I can see that we've had a couple of DNFs, unfortunately. Jean-Pierre Helpap and George Chatsipantelis. I'm not going to try going and showing a replay because I know it will we'll have a few problems with that. So unfortunately I'm not going to be able to show you what happened there. I'm sure we'll find out afterwards, or maybe even during, because they may comment on the YouTube chat. But let's see, Sergey is definitely applying pressure to Felix. I mean, Sergey runs wide. This is Kalas's opportunity, and around the outside he's going to go. But Sergey, if he fights this too hard in the braking zone, he may not have the grip on the tyres. Yeah, he's kind of had to give that one up a little bit.
Yeah, he just got a bit caught on Felix's dirty air there through the fast chicane. It's so difficult to, it's so difficult to be within maybe even 3 or 4 car lengths going into that fast chicane. So he was just a bit too close. But maybe now Kalas is behind Felix. He can have a go himself, and maybe Sergey can get through there as well.
Well, he can sure as hell give it a try. Just having a quick look at Christoph Schroer. He's trying to put some pressure on Roslan, and apologies if the volume has just gone through the roof, folks. As I said, I am quite new to trying to do broadcasting on FSR. But yeah, I mean, I tell you what I'm noticing though, Cameron. Drivers appear to be able to follow quite well up until a point where perhaps they suddenly overheat their tyres.
Yeah, it's a bit of a brick wall effect. You can get very close, but as soon as you get within those last couple of tenths, it's basically just a brick wall, and you just lose all of your aero, which is a bit difficult through these fast chicanes. It's fine through the sort of medium speed corners, but when you get to the high speed corners, it is a bit of a killer. So that's what Sergey probably got into, that brick wall effect.
Yeah, quite possibly. We've got one hell of a battle going on down in 14th place with Dmitry Zadahov on the prime compound tyre, and Tom Satherley on the option tyre, I believe, trying to go all the way around the outside towards the fast left-right chicane, but didn't quite have the traction to be able to get past, and there's a gaggle of cars right behind these guys. Oh, look at the speed difference, and a bit of contact, a bit of front wing gone, I think. Oh, and that's a lot of places lost for Dmitry Zadahov. He will not be happy about that. But I don't know if that was just the difference in compound of tyres, as he nearly gets collected again. Let's see, who's that right behind him now? Vasilev. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, just have a look at the replay of that. Yeah, Satherley just has so much more grip on the options. He goes into the apex of turn 12, and Dimitri's just going a lot slower than him. Not really much he could have done about that.
I mean, it's a tricky one because those corners, they are very, very quick corners. But yeah, I mean, different compounder tyre, different wear levels on them, different driver comfortableness on them, and you can easily end up in a situation, different fuel. Yeah, I mean, obviously, a guy on the prime compound tyre, they're going to be running a lot longer. So they're going to have a hell of a lot more fuel in the car. Now what this has created, 15th down, there's a bit of a battle. Tucson, Rico, Schmidt, Van der Wiede and Zadahov. He's still managing to keep going, but it'll be for us. Oh, just spotted in the background there. Even Rico dropping a couple of places. I'll try and get on board with him to see if he's going to lose another one, because I think he is to Jared Van der Wiede. No, the attack doesn't work. But yeah, I mean... with these guys being so close, one tiny little mistake and it's a number of positions lost. Okay, so what, we're 13 laps into this race now, and I can see that there's going to be a few battles kicking off here. Just in the background, is that Vasiliev trying to make a move? Oh, contact between the two. They're still bumping tyres. Vasiliev and Zadahov, I believe. I think Zadahov, with his frustration, he's not going to give up that one, and he's still trying not to. How they're both facing the same direction still, I don't know. And here comes Stoyan Barbukov, I believe. I could be wrong. Oh, and off they go into the barrier. Rear wing gone for Vasiliev. Race over for him. He's getting to the pits, but that is race over.
Yeah, I'm going to grab a replay of this. Yeah, it's just... Vasiliev trying to get back on the racing line slightly, and Barbukov caught his rear end and, well, effectively spun him into the barrier. Barbukov continued. He doesn't seem to have any aero damage, but Vasiliev is out.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Vasiliev. Sorry, I got that so wrong then. Well, while we were watching that, I was keeping an eye on what was happening up at the front. Rudy Van Buren looking very, very comfortable up at the front again. But having said that, Luke Maguire, he's benefiting from this sort of three-way battle that's going on behind him for third place. Van Delft looks like he's composed himself again now that he's got Sander Callas behind him, who a lap or two ago was applying lots of pressure, however, wasn't able to attack. Sergi Heras, he's trying to compose himself. A little bit of a gap forming though between Callas and himself. And we're kind of getting close to that sort of pit stop window now. And hiding sneakily in the background is Danny van der Neet, who, if he could time a pit stop correctly, he could jump all three of the cars ahead of him. He's that close, it's that tight between them.
Regarding pit stops, Rudy's got to be a little bit smart here, because I'm just looking. His pit stop delta would put him out behind, for instance, Viktor Ivanov, who is on the prime tyres. So if he gets stuck behind him, then that will cost him a lot of time. So he's going to have to either try and clear Ivanov, or I don't know, try a slightly different strategy in some way.
Well, I mean, starting sort of that far down the grid, I mean, you'd think most people would go for the prime compound tyre. However, I could fully understand somebody thinking, no, other people might go prime, so I'm going to go with the options and have the lower fuel and try and just simply be quicker than them on the quicker tyre, on lower fuel, and try and make the moves. But as you said, you've got to be able to make the moves to really make it work. And for Satherley, if it's not really working, well, has Satherley made another pit stop? There's a big gap between Ivanov and Satherley. Is that what you're on about? My apologies that he'd made a pit stop and he's got to make it work now.
No, I don't think he's pit.
Okay, can you tell I wasn't listening?
He just got basically, well, I say stuck. You know, he got caught up with all those prime runners, as I said earlier. So
yeah, that's right.
He has lost a lot of time, a good 20 seconds to Ivanov.
Well, Dmitry Zarahov, he's out of the race, as is Ivan Rico. I don't know what happened to Dmitry Zarahov there, but seeing the battling earlier on and what looked like frustration in his driving, I could kind of understand something going a little bit wrong for him there. But I'm just wondering if sort of who out of these sort of third, fourth, fifth, sixth, who's... Oh, we've got Pitter. Is that Heras into the pits? Yes, it is, and DeWald Nell. Well, with these guys in the pits then, 15 laps completed, and let's see, Sergei Heras coming out on the prime compound tyre. DeWald Nell going for another set of option tyres, so it's a definite two-stop for DeWald Nell. And, well, I mean, Sergei Heras is not going to be going to the end from here, I don't believe. It'd be way too long on these tyres. But, I mean, Cameron, I'm not trying to sort of get team information from you, but we've seen this over the course of this season. Undercuts and overcuts work in very different ways, and it is looking like the overcut is the way to go.
Yes, the overcut is generally the way to go, but certain drivers obviously may have different preferences in what they want to do tyre-wise or fuel-wise, because fuel is probably the determining factor of this car this year. You want to try and have as little as you can at the same time with the best tyres that you can. So,
well, I tell you what we missed. Luke Maguire also made a pit stop, but Sander Callas, he's now in the pits as well. So it'll be interesting to see where Sander Callas is going to come out in reference to Heras and DeWald Nell. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But it looks. Yep, you weren't listening to what I was just saying then. it's easily done. But yeah, it looks like the prime tyre for Sander Callas. And he has got, at the moment, what looks like quite a bit of a gap on Sergi Heras. Got a nice little gap on him there.
Yeah, the gap isn't too much to what they did, so the one lap overcut doesn't seem to be that much difference. But we'll have to see what Felix will do, because obviously he was just ahead of them.
I reckon he's going to go long, isn't he? He's going to go long. He's going to make the last tyres last longer than anyone expected, and he's going to somehow win the race.
Well, it's already lap 17, so we should see these guys come in within the next few laps.
Well, let's see. I'll just have a quick look at Arif Roslan, 5th place. Now, obviously not done a pit stop yet. He's got Ozlakovic not too far behind him. I mean, let's see, Rudy Van Buren, if he pits now, as he does actually, he is in the pits. I was going to try and work out where he's going to come back out, but no need to work it out. We'll have a look. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's going to be around that sort of range. You'd like to think his engineer has perhaps given him enough information to get him back out in a little bit of clear air if possible.
Not Ivanov. He's going to come out near Roslan, just ahead of Roslan.
Yeah, nice little gap his engineers got him out into there, because the cars that are behind him have been on those tyres for quite some time. So that's worked quite nicely. Question now is, what's Van Delft and Van den Eek going to do? And even Christoph Schoer, I mean, he's now sitting in 3rd place. But, I mean, what? Let's see, Van Delft to Van Buren, 11 seconds. So, yeah, Felix is going to need to pull something out of his magic hat if he wants to try and win this one, that's for sure. Now, looking at it as well, I didn't get to see exactly what the gap was between Maguire and Van Buren before Maguire pitted, but the gap between them now is 8 seconds, and Luke Maguire on the prime compound tyre. I didn't actually look at what tyre Van Buren was on. I believe it'd be the prime tyre as well. No, he's gone option.
Yeah, that's where the difference has come from, because obviously Luke would have had to take a couple more. Oh, he's run. Oh, Luke spun, and he's in the wall.
Oh,
He's
big!
his front wing.
There's a big crash there.
Suspension damage as well.
Oh yeah, you can't get away with hitting. You can't get away with hitting that wall there without taking a hell of a lot of pain. It's so easily done though, isn't it, in those particular corners, as Van Delft, Van den Eek, Van Buren all now into the pits. Not Van Buren, he retakes the lead. I meant Schoer, Roslan into the pits.
Yeah, very busy time in the pit lane here. Although Luka Ozlakovic, who started on the prime tyres, is now in 2nd. And Viktor Ivanov in 3rd, also starting on the prime tyres. So
I'm just going to cut you off for a second, because De Wold now he's all over the back of Christoph Schoer as he comes out of the pits and trying to make a move down into turn 3, but not quite working. And Luke Maguire losing a number of places. He's now back into the pit lane. Sorry to have cut you off there. But yeah, I mean, for Luke Maguire, that's desperately unlucky. But for Ozlakovic, he could find himself getting a good result here, having started on the prime tyre.
yeah, it all depends how far he can go now with the overcut, because obviously he does need to make a pit stop, obviously, to get back on the same strategy, but he's going to have probably maximum 10 laps of fuel right now, so he needs to push.
Okay, I believe we may be having some visual problems here. Okay, we'll try and sort that out for you folks as we're on lap 20 in this race. Bear with us a few moments. Okay, folks, apologies about those technical problems there. We'll try and see if we've been able to fix that or not. So, 22 laps. We missed a couple of laps of the action there. Let's see what the state of play is at the moment. Rudy Van Buren still leading this race. Luke Maguire having an accident in the fast left-right chicane. Easily done, losing his front wing. And he is also now out of this race. Viktor Ivanov, he's got himself into second place. 11 seconds off the lead, while Felix van Delft now 17 seconds behind the leader, and a big factor of that being that he is on the prime tyre, while the race leader is now on a second set of options. Sergei Heras is sitting in 5th place, not too far behind Felix and trying to apply plenty of pressure, but let's see... well, actually, it's Sander Callas that's sitting behind Felix, so apologies for that. But Sander Callas trying to apply plenty of pressure here because he knows he needs to get ahead of the car right ahead of him if he wants to achieve anything in the championship standings this weekend. And what I'm finding interesting here, Cameron, is that even though we're sort of 23 laps into the race, I mean, yeah, okay, the leaders sort of ran away with it at the moment, but we've still got plenty of battles going on. The field is not massively spread out at the moment.
Yeah, they're all still pretty close, so it's good to see that the pace is good. Although Rudy has got a massive lead right now. He's got a 16.5 second lead to Felix, who is the net second place, so... Yeah, they're really, really is a good showing by him. Good speed on his return, but he's on the options, so we will have to see where he comes out. Because, as we saw last time in Montreal, Felix did the primes in the middle stint over Callas, and that actually worked out in the end because he won the race. So when Rudy pits and he's on heavy tyres, that's when Felix is...
So I'm just going to cut you off a second. Bit of a battle. Barbukov and Tucson going side by side into turn 3. And it looks like they're trying to have a little bit of a romantic session down there, which has not ended well for Tucson as Barbukov pushes him off the track. And Tucson now coming under pressure from Jared van der Velde. Sorry to cut you off there. Also looks like Rosland coming under a lot of pressure as well. But I'm just tempted to stay on this at the moment because I do think we could see a car ending up in the lake.
Yeah, Schmidt had a start from pits, so we don't really know what his quali pace was like. I'm sure he would have been right up the front, so he probably has the pace to pass Arif.
Well, he's right on the back of him. Once again, though, I'd like to apologise for any visual problems we had a few moments ago, and if we have still got them, please don't hesitate to mention them on the YouTube chat, and if we can do anything about it, we will try. Or as Lucas, he's having a look up the inside of Rosland, not quite able to make the move though, and it is showing around this circuit that it is not easy to overtake, and you are potentially going to have to not force the other guy off the track, but put so much pressure on the driver ahead of you that they make a mistake, and that's where your opportunity can come from. I mean, I'm finding it quite interesting with the likes of Sander Callas. I mean, the opening few rounds of this season, he was outstandingly quick and was very impressive and was kind of potentially... making a lot of drivers need antidepressants after race day with how well he was doing, up until the last race where Felix managed to pull it out of the bag and take the win. So I'm a little surprised that Sander in this race so far has not been able to sort of storm his way up into those podium places. It's almost as if he is kind of stuck a little bit. Come on. That was in the pits. So Lucas Schmidt making a pit stop, and I think it might be his first pit stop of the day. I did try showing how many pit stops people had done, but unfortunately with RF2 actually crashing on me a moment ago. He's come back in and told me that nobody's pitted, but I do think it will be his first stop of the day, and I'd expect him to do an option run from here to the end of the race. Quick question to you, Cameron. I've been trying to get some sneaky information out of you, and it hasn't worked. But as a driver, I mean, I know you've got a job to do at the moment, you've got duties to do, just as I have, but as a driver, while you're watching this race, what are you potentially trying to learn as Ivanov pits, or what are you learning from seeing these guys out on track at the moment that if you were just sitting there watching this, that you would try and take into tomorrow's race?
Well, for my pro race, the only thing I can really look at is the distance that people are getting on each tyre, really. Obviously, lap times, Ace is going to be a tiny bit quicker than Pro. I mean, obviously, you can look at things like where people are overtaking, where is it hard to overtake, you know, where you want to be a little bit further behind so you don't get the dirty air and things like that. But I hadn't really looked at it thoroughly, if that makes sense. So you just sort of learn the odd thing here and there.
Yeah, it's not easy to take too much information from it, is it? Because in Ace they could be running different fuel loads than we might. They may do more laps on their tyres or may do less laps on their tyres, with Pro being of a shorter race distance. I'm just keeping an eye on Callas here. He's still close to Felix, but I don't think he's close enough to really apply any pressure. But yeah, I mean, for Pro and Ace... Oh, Callas into the barrier!
That is the understeer you get from the dirty air right there. He tried to carry a bit of speed to get a slipstream, but the front's just scrubbed a little bit wide, and he taps the wall there, so it might have a tiny bit of suspension damage.
Danny van der Neet. There is that battle for third and fourth, but just behind them there is still a battle for fifth, sixth, and seventh, which is still going on. And yeah, it's kind of catch-22 for a few of these drivers, where to a degree all they can do is follow. And some people may say, "Oh, it's boring," but for the drivers, it's not necessarily boring. It's a case of it's pressure. It's 100% pressure all the way through. And this is a battle for the drivers, but it's getting to a point now where Van Buren in the lead, he's not far off being able to pit and come out ahead of second place, although he's got to run the prime tyre.
Yes, if he can get that gap, then well, you can't really say much else to that. Then he's just gonna find it a bit easy in the second half of the race. Yeah,
I mean, he could cruise it. I mean, he's going to have a 20-odd second lead. He's going to be quite comfortable, you would think. Just having a look at this little battle down 11th place. Rosland Satherley. Rosland prime tyre. Oh, a little bit twitchy. Satherley got a good run on him, though. Let's see, is he going to have a look at the inside? He's on the option tyre? No. I mean, this is one of the things that may create overtaking opportunities, is differences of tyre compound. I mean, ideally you want to be on the option tyre trying to pass somebody on the prime tyre, rather than being on the prime tyre trying to pass somebody on the option tyre. It's going to make it very, very difficult.
I just did a little bit of mental maths, so this might be dodgy, but Rudy has done 10 laps already, so he's probably going to go another 7 or 8 laps, which means he's probably going to get, at the current rate, another 5 or 6 seconds to Felix, which means he's going to come out just behind this sort of scrap, including, well, even Danny and Christoph. So he's going to put him right in some traffic. So he's going to need to push to try and get this gap. Even though he'll have the gap anyway, but he might lose some time after he makes his pit stop.
Well, he's in an interesting situation because if Callas starts applying more pressure to Felix, that's going to cost them more time, and he's going to have more time to play with, and he can perhaps go a little bit longer. But I mean, we're looking at him pitting within the next 1 or 2 laps anyway. So I don't think he needs to be coming out into this battle. He needs to be coming out ahead of this battle. The problem is these guys are on prime tyres, and they're going to be going for they could be going for another 10 laps.
It is going to, I think, lose him some time, but I'm not sure that it's race critical for him because Felix is going to need to be very quick on those option tyres at the end to catch him up. Very, very quick.
You're right, he is. Now, what's interesting is we've got De Woldenel in 7th place and also Schoa in 6th place. They're on the option tyres, so they are going to be pitting soon, and that could benefit. You would think it could benefit them over the prime tyre runners ahead of them. However, it might not benefit them because they're going to have to put on prime tyre level of fuel, which is going to be more fuel than the prime tyre runners are using at the moment. It all gets a little bit confusing for us in the commentary box, but also for the drivers. But Sergi Heras, he's kind of coming into his own a little bit now as well. He's actually starting to latch onto the back of Sander Callas here.
Yeah, his last lap was 3/10 quicker than both Callas and Delft, so he's got this this little speed advantage, but he's going to get into that dirty air effect. So we'll have to see how close he can try and stay, because obviously last time we saw he ran wide and then lost the place to Callas. So maybe he's going to be a bit more conservative in how he tries to overtake this time.
Well, you know him. Is he going to be conservative?
Knowing him...
I thought he was going to say no. Yeah, I thought he was just going to say, knowing him, no. But I mean, to be fair, racing drivers are like that. You give them half an opportunity and yeah, they're probably going to take it. But
Sergi's probably one of the most motivated people I've ever spoken to.
Fair
just
enough.
wants to win.
Okay, Lucas Schmidt making another pit stop. I think that is out of sync for him. I could be wrong.
Yes, let's check. Yes, his last stint was only 6 laps.
Yeah, he's binned it somewhere. I wonder if it was in the fast left-right chicane.
I will go have a search.
Now, with the technical issues we've already had today, you can see why I've said I'm not going to try doing replays. I know it may be frustrating for a few of the viewers, but yeah, apologies for that one. Christoph, I mean, this is a really tense battle from second as Nell pits. Might be a good time for him to do that. He's going to have, 17 laps on the option tyre? No, on the prime tyre, sorry. So he can really... no, my maths are wrong on that one, I reckon. He's going to go to the end on the prime tyre, let's put it that way. But he'll be able to push them hard.
Yeah, I think it's 27 laps.
Yep, thought that'd be right. I was just testing you there, Cameron. Well done. You got it correct. Good job.
Yeah, I've done some searching, and it doesn't seem like Schmidt had any issues. So, because it was 6 laps, that might have counted him crossing the line, which means he might have had a stop and go penalty.
Ooh.
Yeah, for speeding in the pit lane in his last pit stop. So he had to serve it on the 5th lap afterwards. That is the only thing I can think of.
You could be absolutely spot on with that. You definitely could. But yeah, okay. So De Woldenel, he's made his pit stop onto the prime tyre now. He's come out in 10th place. 8 seconds behind Viktor Ivanov. So he's definitely still in this battle. But it'll be a question of whether 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, whether they're going to be pitting to put primes on or pitting to put options on for the final stint. And I think it'd have to be said, I mean, for Felix, if he wants any chance of winning this race, he's got to try and get the option tyre on. And he's opening up a nice little gap now on Callas.
Felix can't put on the options. He's got to wait another 8 laps, I'd say, at least, because unless he goes primes, another set of primes, to be honest. Like, he's never going to catch Rudy if he goes on the primes, so it's a difficult decision right here.
Well, I tell you what, we've not watched Rudy Van Buren much, so I'm actually going to ride on board with him for a lap. We'll see how he's getting on out there and see if it's looking nice and comfortable for him. And I'll let Cameron keep an eye on that battle going on behind us. And I'm sure he'll shout at me if anything's about to kick off. But, I mean, for Rudy, his first stint option tyres and opened up a nice little gap. He was helped a lot with Luke Maguire making a mistake and hitting a barrier. But for Rudy now, I mean, he must be absolutely loving it. Option tyres, 21-second gap. But the interesting thing is, he's not opening the gap up on these option tyres, and that's because they're getting towards the end of their life now. And with him needing prime tyres, I think he's still in a phase of trying to open that gap up big enough to not come out into that battle. He is looking very comfortable out there at the moment, though. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, his own sort of challenge at the moment is himself and making sure that he doesn't go making any daft mistakes and thinking that this one is already won, because it is definitely not. Melbourne is an unforgiving circuit, as quite a few of the drivers have found out today. The DNF next to their name showing that, yeah, you make a tiny mistake, it turns into a big one very, very quickly.
It is a street track, and the walls are very close, and it's such a fast track. So that is all the ingredients to make a race of attrition in some ways. Because if you make a small mistake, you're likely to go in the wall, especially at fast corners like turn 11 and 12. The wall is just there if you spin.
Yep, it is now. Felix has got a little bit of traffic ahead of him, and that traffic has gone a little bit wide, and Felix giving him plenty of room there, not wanting to get anywhere near him. Let's see if Sergey is going to be able to get past as well. Yeah, it looks like they're getting well out of the way. That's how to deal with a blue flag situation if you find yourself in a little bit of trouble, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, that may have made Felix's heart flutter a little more than he would have liked in this Saturday afternoon.
He's pulled away from Sander a little bit in the last few laps. I haven't been watching it, and I just clicked back, and there's definitely a little gap forming between these cars now.
Yes, there is. I think Felix is really pushing hard to try and keep that gap to Rudy as small as possible. He wants Rudy to come out behind him so that he can hold him up a little bit when it comes to his pit stop, and hopefully get Sander applying some pressure to Rudy to help Felix open up a little bit of a gap. There's a lot of connectivity in this one, that's for sure, I reckon. But I mean, you mentioned as well about the walls. I'm just having a look at Jos Araneda, see how close. See how close Ivanov is to him. Not that close, to be honest. But yeah, you mentioned about the walls. Now, I do know that in FSR, I think it may have been last season or the season before, the start of the race is such a frantic one with 26 to 30 cars on the grid. A big crash on lap 1 can quite easily take out half the grid instantly, without hesitation. And I can't... Yeah, and Canada, I was gonna mention that as well. I mean, you have everyone gets through turn 1 and 2 quite nicely. You're like, yes, okay, we got through. But then turns 3 and 4 decide to throw a big spanner in the works, and it can easily happen. But something I wanted to touch on, and maybe we can get a bit of an inside track from yourself, Cameron. But if you're not allowed to say, don't worry. But to do with red flags, is I think Ivanov, makes a move because Araneda is into the pits. Red flags. Red flags are something that the viewers may have thought on occasion, I should red flag this, but it's not that simple to just go, quite a few people have crashed out, we'll throw a red flag. There's so much more to it than that, and there are, I believe, specific things have to have happened for a red flag to be given. It's not just a case of 10 cars have crashed out, let's red flag it, isn't it?
Yeah, I got, as race director, I got quite a few questions about this, why I didn't red flag it, but we do have very specific rules, which basically don't include 10 people crashing at turn 1. And the main reason is because it's unfair if when
Sorry,
you start it.
hold that thought for a moment.
Okay, one second.
Race leader into the pits, Rudy Van Buren. Where is he going to come out? I do want to continue this conversation though, because I have got a bit more to add to it as well, and I think it's an interesting topic. But let's see how Rudy's going to get on.
It's going to be close.
Well, let's see. Where's Felix?
Close.
Oh, I think he's going to be ahead. He's going to be ahead, is he? Oh, where is Rudy into second place?
Going to get him as well.
And that is so important for Sander Callas and for Felix, and that is exactly what Felix needed, which is why Cameron just went, oh, yes. Either that or he was like, oh, that was close. But that's a game changer. That could be a game changer because we've seen how difficult it is to overtake. And the thing is for Rudy now, he's heavy with fuel, whereas the guys around him, they're not. They're potentially quicker with the fuel loads that they've got on. So Rudy's got to be careful of Sergi Heras, who Cameron has already said, we're going to love you for this quote, is the most committed person I've ever known. And yeah, he'll probably go for it. But having said that, Heras is going to have to be careful of Van der Neet. So while we keep an eye on what's happening here, we'll touch back on to the red flag thing. So sorry for cutting you off there. So yeah, there are specific things that have to happen.
Yes, so one of them is, for instance, like a mass disconnection or something like that. But yeah, as I was saying, it's basically just because it's unfair. If when you restart it, then someone else gets a bad start, do you restart it again? Because,
Well, that's what I was going to say. Oh, into the pits goes Heras. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, he almost binned it. Maybe it's because he was behind Rudy. He didn't want to lose time or something.
Quite possibly. But yeah, the point you made is the point I was going to make. Okay, let's say 10 people crash out in turn 1, and there's people there going, oh, red flag it. Let's say, okay, you red flag it. But what happens then if only one person gets crashed out on the next start and it was the race leader? It'd be unfair on him to then go, oh, we're not red flagging that because there's only one of you. Well, he may have had a good start, and that's where it really starts getting difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's where the rule came from, was basically with it being unfair. Unfair for...
Oh, sorry, just going to cut you off 1 second because Sergi Heras side by side with De Wold-Nel. De Wold-Nel has actually gained quite a bit of time when he made his pit stop on the option tyre now, and he's ahead of Sergi Heras. So if Heras went for the pit stop to not be right behind Van Buren, it's backfired because he's now right behind the South African De Wold-Nel, who's going to be sat there. I was going to do a South African impression, but I don't think I will. Go away. That's nothing like South African, don't worry. But yeah, frustrating for Heras maybe.
Nice South African accent.
Not even going to comment on that one. Do not rewind the last 10 seconds, folks. Yeah, that's for sure. Christoph going very, very slow on his way into the pits. Sander Callas also into the pit lane.
Callas pits, and obviously Heras has been held up by De Wold, so he might be quite a way behind because he would have lost a good probably 2 seconds.
I think you could be right there. Let's see, is that De Wold-Nel in the background? It is, and there's a big gap between Sander Callas and De Wold-Nel. And let's see, Christoph is going to be behind Heras, but is Christoph going to be able to stay ahead of the cars battling behind him? It looks like he is, but they're fighting hard into turn 1, and they're going to carry quite a bit of speed. It's Luka Ozlakovic, and Araneda right behind him, very nearly bins it. Christoph going defensive down to turn 3 as Luka runs a little bit wide, a little bit deep.
Araneda took the option tyres only a couple of laps ago, so he is going to need to make a stop again.
Yeah, you could be right on that one. Okay, quickly just get back on board with Rudy Van Buren, who it looks like he's opening up a little bit of a gap now to Danny Van der Neet. But that was a little phase that was important for Felix van Delft, because it's potentially given him a little bit of extra lap, or a little bit of extra time, as Van der Neet, I think, has gone into the pits. Yes, he has. So this is kind of crucial now for Felix. When are you going to pit? Are you going to put the option tyre on? Are you going to do what you did in Canada? We'll have to wait and see. For Danny Van der Neet, though, where is he going to come back out on track? But yeah, to touch on the red flag thing again, I mean, it would be very, very unfair on certain people, because it'd be sod's law. Or this is going to be close. This is going to be close. Van der Neet comes out behind Sander Callas and just ahead of De Wold Nel, and it looks like De Wold Nel on those option tyres is on a charge. He is, because he's going to try and make the move straight away on the run down towards turn 3. He's got the outside. Oh my days, he very nearly put Van der Neet into the wall, but now there is a bit of contact, and that's going to cost them both a little bit of time. I think they may be having a chat about that one afterwards, and about that one as well, as Van der Neet repays the favour, and yeah, it shows De Wold now what the car park is for. Being stationary, watching other people go by.
Yeah, that got a little bit heated there with De Wold's sort of flick to the right on the straight. Yeah,
as the driver in the other car, it's not something you'd want to see. Yeah, I'm still talking and trying to talk about the red flag. It would be fair on other people who, sod's law, would get unlucky. They'd get crashed out and they'd had a good start. So it's a tricky one, and I say that because that would happen, and I know it happened to you, didn't it, Cameron? In one of the pro races, where you gave the race director a reminder when we restarted for a guy who got disconnected. You said, just a reminder, he's now got to start from the pits. And on the next formation lap, what happened? You get disconnected, and you had to start from the pits. And I sat there thinking, shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, probably not. But obviously, I was trying to get a competitive advantage having him start from the pits.
It didn't work, did it?
Nah. Although it worked out for me in the end, because I started on the primes, which actually helped me.
Well, yeah. But it is proof, though. I mean, the commentator's curse, it's real. Sod's law, Irish luck, it is real. That's just the way it goes, unfortunately. But yeah, when it comes to red flags, there are specific circumstances that have to have been met for a red flag to be given, and unfortunately, people crashing out isn't one of them. So, 18 laps left of the race, and what have we got at the moment? I tell you what we've got. We've got Felix van Delft opening up the gap to Rudy van Buren in second place. I believe that's Rudy we can see in the background. Yes, it is, but Felix opening this gap is suggesting to me that he's going to go another 1, maybe 2 laps, bold on a set of option tyres, and if they're potentially half a second to a second faster, we've got to race on for the lead. Now, Victor Ivanov, though, I mean, he's sitting in 3rd place at the moment, and I may have to go and have a look and see what tyres he's on, and see if he's going to have to make another pit stop or not. I've got a feeling he is, because he's kind of sort of snuck up the grid order without really me noticing him anyway. But I'm just looking at Danny Van der Neet, who's got Sergei Heras